stop taking your multivitamin. I know that sounds insane coming from a doctor, but hear me out, because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could genuinely change the trajectory of your health for the next 20 years. I've spent over 2 decades as a surgeon, and I've watched thousands of patients age beautifully and thousands more deteriorate far too fast. And the difference almost never came down to luck or genetics. It came down to 5 specific habits that most people over 40 are either doing completely wrong or not doing at all. Here's the number that stopped me cold when I first read it. A landmark study out of Harvard Medical School tracked 78,000 adults over a 12-year period and found that individuals who adopted specific lifestyle behaviors before the age of 50 were 87% less likely to develop the chronic diseases most commonly associated with aging heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, and debilitating joint deterioration. 87%. That's not a rounding error. That's a near complete reversal of biological destiny. And before we get to number 1 on this list, which I promise will genuinely surprise you because it is the single most underestimated anti-aging strategy I have ever encountered in my entire medical career, I want to ask you something. How old are you right now? Drop your age in the comments below and tell me, what's the one thing about aging that worries you most? Is it your memory? Your mobility? Your energy? I read every single comment personally, and your answer actually helps me decide what videos to make next. So please take 5 seconds and let me know. Now, I've ranked today's list from least to most powerful. Each one of these strategies is backed by real science, and I've included all the research references in the description below so you can read them yourself. We're going from number 5 down to number 1. Let's get into it. Number 5. Most people think inflammation is what happens when you sprain your ankle red, swollen, painful, and gone in a week. But there is another kind of inflammation, one you cannot feel, one you cannot see, and one that is silently destroying your cells right now if you are over 40. Scientists call it inflammaging, a slow, low-grade, chronic inflammatory state that accelerates biological aging at the cellular level. Think of it like a pilot light that never turns off. Your immune system is supposed to flare up, fight a threat, and cool back down. But as we age, that cooling mechanism weakens. The fire never fully dies. And over years and decades, that constant low-level burn damages your arteries, your brain tissue, your joints, and yes, even your DNA. Researchers at the National Institute on Aging found that adults over 60 with elevated inflammatory markers, specifically a protein called C-reactive protein, which is just a measure of internal inflammation, were 63% more likely to experience accelerated cognitive decline over a 5-year period compared to those with normal levels. And here is what most doctors aren't telling their patients. One of the most powerful anti-inflammatory foods on earth costs about $4 a jar and is sitting in your grocery store right now. Extra virgin olive oil, not vegetable oil, not canola. Extra virgin olive oil. The compound responsible is called oleocanthal, and a study from the University of Monash in Australia found that regular consumption of oleocanthal-rich olive oil inhibited the same inflammatory pathways as ibuprofen, a pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory drug, without any of the gastrointestinal side effects. The practical application here is simple. Replace every other cooking oil in your kitchen with extra virgin olive oil. Use 2 to 3 tablespoons daily. Drizzle it on vegetables, use it in salad dressings, finish your soups with it. Do not cook it at extremely high heat because that degrades the beneficial compounds. And here's your synergy tip for maximum effect. Pair it with a small amount of black pepper. The piperine in black pepper increases absorption of olive oil's bioactive compounds by up to 20%, according to research from the Linus Pauling Institute. I had a patient, Margaret, 71 years old, from Boise, Idaho, who came to me with joint stiffness so severe she had difficulty climbing stairs. Her inflammatory markers were through the roof. We made one dietary change before anything else. We switched her to daily extra virgin olive oil. Within 6 weeks, her C-reactive protein levels had dropped 34%. She told me at her follow-up appointment that she had walked up 3 flights of stairs that morning without stopping. One change. 6 weeks. That is the power of addressing inflammation directly. Number 4. Let me tell you something that the fitness industry does not want you to know, because it threatens to make their expensive protein supplements and gym memberships feel unnecessary. After the age of 40, your muscles begin to experience something called anabolic resistance. That's a medical term, so let me translate it into plain English. Anabolic means building. Resistance in this context means your body is becoming stubborn about building and maintaining muscle. The signals that tell your muscles to grow and repair, primarily the hormone IGF-1 and the amino acid leucine pathway, become progressively less sensitive as you age. After 60, this process accelerates dramatically. After 75, research from Tufts University found that the human body loses up to 35% of its muscle synthesizing efficiency compared to a 30-year-old. This matters enormously because muscle is not just about strength. Muscle is a metabolic organ. It regulates blood sugar, it produces anti-inflammatory compounds, it supports your skeleton, and it is the single most protective factor against falls, which, by the way, are the leading cause of injury-related death in adults over 65. But here is the strategy that addresses anabolic resistance that almost no one is talking about. Timed resistance exercise combined with a specific nutritional window. A study published in the Journal of Gerontology found that older adults who performed resistance training, and this does not mean heavy weightlifting, it means body weight squats, resistance bands, light dumbbell movements, and then consumed 25 to 40 grams of high-quality protein within 45 minutes of that exercise, saw 58% greater muscle protein synthesis compared to those who exercised without the nutritional window. The timing is the secret. Your muscles are most receptive to rebuilding in that 45-minute post-exercise window, and after 60, that window narrows significantly compared to younger adults. The synergy tip here: pair your post-exercise protein with a small amount of tart cherry juice. Tart cherries contain natural compounds called anthocyanins that reduce exercise-induced muscle inflammation, and a study from the University of Vermont found this combination reduced muscle soreness by 22% and improved recovery time in adults over 55. 3 days a week of resistance exercise, 45-minute protein window. That is the protocol. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. If you're finding this valuable, and I hope you are, would you please take 1 second to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel? I put out medically grounded content specifically for people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, because I believe you deserve the same quality of health information that younger people get. Your biology is different, your needs are different, and I'm here specifically for you. Hit subscribe. It genuinely helps me reach more people who need this information. Number 3, there is a molecule inside every single one of your cells called NAD+. Think of it like the electrical current running through your body's power grid. It is essential for energy production, DNA repair, and the activation of proteins called sirtuins, which scientists sometimes call longevity genes because of their role in cellular aging. Here is the problem. By the time you are 50, your NAD+ levels have dropped by approximately 50% compared to your levels at age 20. By 70, they may be as low as 25% of youthful levels. When NAD+ declines, the mitochondria, the energy-producing factories inside your cells, begin to malfunction. You feel it as fatigue, brain fog, slower recovery, that deep tiredness that sleep doesn't seem to fix. Researchers at the Washington University School of Medicine conducted a clinical trial with adults averaging 71 years of age and supplemented them with a compound called NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, which the body converts directly into NAD+. After 10 weeks, participants showed significant improvements in muscle strength, walking speed, and physical performance measures compared to the placebo group. A separate study from the University of Tokyo found that NMN supplementation improved insulin sensitivity and reduced markers of metabolic aging in older adults. Now, NMN supplements are available and increasingly accessible, but there are also dietary precursors you can get from food. Edamame, broccoli, cucumber, and avocado all contain meaningful amounts of NMN precursors. The practical approach is this: increase your consumption of these foods significantly, and if you are interested in supplementation, speak with your physician about 250 to 500 milligrams of NMN daily in the morning. Since NAD plus metabolism is linked to your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock, and morning dosing appears most effective. The synergy tip: combine NMN-boosting foods with resveratrol, a compound found in red grapes and certain berries. Resveratrol activates those sirtuin longevity proteins I mentioned, and NAD+ is the fuel those proteins need to do their job. Together they operate like a key and a lock. One without the other has limited effect. I have a patient named Robert, 68, from Charleston, South Carolina, a retired high school principal who told me he had accepted that constant fatigue was just part of getting older. We addressed his NAD+ pathway through both diet and supervised supplementation. Within 3 months, he told me he was waking up without an alarm and finishing his afternoon without needing to sit down. He said, and I remember his exact words, "I forgot what it felt like to feel like myself." Number 2, I want you to think about your gut for a moment. Not in a vague wellness culture way. I mean the 70 trillion microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses, all of them that live inside your intestines and collectively weigh about 3 pounds. This ecosystem is called your gut microbiome, and the research coming out about its connection to aging is some of the most exciting and most alarming science I have ever read. Here's what we now know. A study published in the journal Nature Metabolism analyzed the microbiomes of over 9,000 people and found that individuals who maintained a diverse, stable gut microbiome into their 70s and 80s had mortality profiles statistically similar to people decades younger. Their immune systems were stronger, their inflammatory markers were lower, their cognitive test scores were significantly higher, but after 40, the gut microbiome begins to shift. You lose key strains of beneficial bacteria, particularly Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus, and the diversity of the ecosystem narrows. This matters because roughly 70% of your immune system lives in and around your gut. When the microbiome degrades, immune function degrades with it, inflammatory signaling increases, and your body's ability to absorb nutrients from food declines, which is why a 70-year-old eating the same diet as a 30-year-old often shows more nutritional deficiencies. The intervention here is both specific and highly practical. Fermented foods, not supplements, first food. A landmark study from Stanford University's School of Medicine found that a diet high in fermented foods, specifically yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and kombucha, increased microbiome diversity and decreased inflammatory markers in just 10 weeks. Participants who ate 6 or more servings of fermented foods per day showed the most dramatic improvements. Now, 6 servings sounds like a lot, but a serving is small. 2 tablespoons of sauerkraut, a small cup of kefir, a few ounces of kimchi with dinner. It accumulates quickly when you build the habit. The synergy tip: pair fermented foods with prebiotic fiber, which is the food that your beneficial gut bacteria eat. Garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, and slightly underripe bananas are all excellent prebiotic sources. Think of fermented foods as planting seeds in a garden. Prebiotic fiber is the water and soil that makes those seeds actually grow. 73-year-old Patricia from Portland, Oregon came to my practice 2 years ago with recurring infections, chronic digestive discomfort, and what she described as a foggy mind that had been slowly closing in for years. After a comprehensive evaluation, we identified severe gut dysbiosis and imbalance in her microbiome. We rebuilt her diet around fermented foods and prebiotic fiber, added a targeted probiotic strain, and within 4 months her immune markers had normalized, her digestion had transformed, and at her 6-month appointment she told me, laughing, that her book club friends wanted to know what she was doing because she seemed 20 years younger. I told her to share the sauerkraut recipe. And now, number 1. The single most underestimated anti-aging strategy I have seen in my entire career. One that costs almost nothing. One that requires no equipment. One that you can begin tonight. And almost no one is doing it correctly. Sleep. I can already hear the skepticism. You've heard this before, but I promise you, you have not heard it framed this way. Because this is not about sleep duration. Everyone knows you should sleep 7 to 9 hours. This is about sleep architecture specifically. What happens in the deepest stages of sleep, and why, after 60, those stages begin to collapse in ways that accelerate aging faster than almost any other biological factor. During deep sleep, a stage scientists call slow-wave sleep, your brain activates a system called the glymphatic system. Think of it like a dishwasher for your brain. Cerebrospinal fluid floods through channels in the brain tissue, physically flushing out metabolic waste products, including amyloid beta, the protein fragments that accumulate in Alzheimer's disease. A study from the University of Rochester found that the glymphatic system is up to 10 times more active during sleep than during waking hours. It is one of the primary mechanisms through which your brain prevents the protein buildup associated with cognitive decline. Here's the devastating part. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley found that after age 60, slow-wave sleep can decline by as much as 70% compared to young adulthood. 70%. That is not slightly less cleaning. That is a nearly dysfunctional dishwasher running on one arm. The amyloid accumulates. Inflammatory proteins build up. Cognitive processing slows. And the tragedy is that most people accept this as inevitable. It is not. There are specific evidence-based strategies to restore deep sleep in older adults. First, lower your bedroom temperature to between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. A study from the National Institutes of Health found that cooler core body temperature is one of the most powerful triggers for deep sleep initiation, and older adults particularly benefit because our thermoregulation, the body's ability to manage its own temperature, becomes less efficient with age. Second, eliminate blue light exposure for 90 minutes before bed. Blue light suppresses melatonin production, and after 50, your pineal gland already produces significantly less melatonin naturally. Third, consider a small amount of glycine and amino acid found in bone broth and collagen supplements, which research from Kagoshima University in Japan found improved objective sleep quality and reduced daytime fatigue in adults over 60 when taken at 3 grams before bed. The synergy tip. Pair your sleep optimization protocol with morning sunlight exposure 10 to 20 minutes of natural light within an hour of waking. This anchors your circadian rhythm, which directly governs the timing and depth of your sleep cycles. Morning light and cool bedroom darkness at night are two sides of the same biological clock. You cannot fix one without the other. I'll close with this. I have a patient named James. He is 77 years old, from Tucson, Arizona, a former civil engineer. When he first came to see me 4 years ago, he was shuffling when he walked. He was forgetting appointments. He was declining dinner invitations because he was too tired and too stiff to enjoy them. He told me quietly at that first appointment that he was afraid he was becoming a burden. Today, James hikes 3 times a week. He is sharp, engaged, and last month, he flew across the country to watch his granddaughter's college graduation alone, confidently, independently. He did not do anything extraordinary. He addressed inflammation. He rebuilt his muscle. He nourished his cellular energy. He healed his gut. And he finally started sleeping deeply again. That is what this is about. Not vanity. Not living forever. It is about walking into a room without pain. Remembering the name of the person you just met. Playing on the floor with your grandchildren without needing help to stand up. Going to sleep at night knowing that tomorrow you will feel like yourself. It is never too late. The research is unambiguous on this point. Adults in their 70s and 80s who adopt these habits show measurable biological rejuvenation within weeks to months. Your body wants to heal. It is waiting for the right conditions. If this video helped you today, please subscribe to this channel. I post new, medically grounded content every week designed specifically for people who refuse to accept that decline is inevitable. And leave me a comment. Which of these 5 strategies are you going to start first? I want to know. I read every single one. See you in the next video.